Hello everyone, thank you for coming to my class, and I'm going to eat some good food and show you guys just some different things that I've been eating. And for those of you who don't know, and you probably don't know, but I've been doing a low-fat, raw, vegan diet, and I am committed to doing a year. I started after I turned 50, which was October 14th, so October 15th I started eating low-fat, raw, vegan. Now I did, when I switched over, I did have some planned cheat days. I ate cooked food on Thanksgiving, I ate cooked food on Christmas and on New Year's, and then a couple times that my weakness was stronger than my discipline, I've eaten 2 times an unplanned cooked meal. So, but that's okay. You got to be gentle with yourself. So, and you know what I have to tell you, you know when that happens is when I'm hungry and I'm cooking food for my kids. That's when that happens. It's like I'm not satisfied, I haven't eaten myself, and I'm cooking something that looks so delicious, and the more I'm cooking it, the more I'm smelling it, the more my body's saying, put it in your mouth, put it in your mouth. And so 2 times I actually gave in to that craving. So hopefully that'll be less and less. So I want to show you guys a book that I am using, that I am, is this one, and I really do recommend this book. It's 80-10-10, 80% fresh fruits and vegetables, 10% protein, and 10% fat. And that's what this book goes into detail, explaining one of the first things that people always ask is, well, isn't that too much fruit? Isn't that too much sugar? Well, actually, sugar is not really the problem. It's the fat in the diet. And so he explains about the 10% protein. A lot of people are concerned about, am I getting enough protein? And how he explains everything has protein in it. Even tomatoes have protein in it. And so he goes into depth explaining about protein and why not to be concerned about that. One of the biggest things I guess, the greatest amount of education I actually got from this book was understanding a high-fat diet and how important it is to keep the fat down in your diet, even if it is good fat, to keep it down. I've attempted the raw food diet before a few times, and couldn't wait to get off of it. You know, I knew I had a time commitment. The longest time I did it besides this time was 2 months, and I just was counting the days until I was done my 2-month commitment. And the reason for that, well, of course it's, you know, cooked food is addicting, so of course you want to get off that addiction, and you want to give into that addiction. I mean, so you know, if you have a 2-month time limit and you actually don't get what's the word, I guess, released from that cooked food addiction, you're going to be like counting down the days. And something that stops you from releasing that cooked food addiction is eating a high-fat diet. Even if you have a lot of, even if it's avocados and coconut oil and what else is a good high-fat? Olives. You know, if you still are continuing to eat a high-fat diet, even if it's healthy high-fats, you will have a harder time getting off the cooked foods. So that's what I did. When I went raw vegan before, I was eating a high-fat raw food diet. So, who? She left.
Oh, how long has she been gone?
About 15 minutes,
Okay.
20 minutes.
All right.
Okay. So as I've been studying or following the raw food diet for about 8 years, and been very intrigued by it, as most people probably are intrigued by the raw food diet. I've seen it and heard of it healing people's diabetes, people's cancer, people's all kinds of illnesses, immune disorders. They're on the internet. Most raw fooders that have YouTube channels have been healed by something that was killing them, and usually it started killing them in their early 20s. You know, 20, 21 years old. These kids are dying, and they're desperate for some answers, and so some of them have turned to the raw food diet and gotten healed from things that were killing them, really. Food can either be, who was it, Socrates? I think it's Socrates that said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. I think it was Socrates. you know, food, it can either be your sickle or it can be your salve. So, you know, you have to look at food as not just to please the taste buds on our tongue, but really as what really literally goes in your mouth is what you become. If you eat a bunch of Doritos and drink a bunch of Coke, I mean, you're going to become not a Dorito, but you're going to become the chemicals that are in there. You're going to become toxic, like that Dorito's toxic, you know. So this book really, after following the raw food movement for the last 8 years, you're going to hear more and more about it because it's a movement that's really starting to become more popular. I realized the thing that I had been doing wrong in the raw food diet was eating too much fat. And when you eat raw foods, you can eat like 85% fat. Like 85% of your fat calories can come from fat easily. And so keeping the fat down has really helped me a lot. It took me 2 months to actually say, 2 months of just real food cravings, like miserable cooked food cravings. After those 2 months, they were not as intense. It was much easier, became more normal. This week, actually, I'm having a hard time this week, but I know why I'm having a hard time. I've let my iron get down really low. I had my blood work checked on Tuesday, and my iron was really low, which I suspected because I'm usually an energy ball, and I'm not right now. I noticed about a week or 2 weeks ago that I was going to bed earlier and not having as much energy, and I was like, oh, probably my iron's down because I'm not good at getting my greens in, and I need to be more diligent about getting my greens in. So I have started to take an iron supplement to take for a few weeks, and I have to make myself eat those greens. You guys ever feel like that? Like, I have to get those greens in. It's just really important.
Avocados.
It's important. Avocados. I don't know how much iron's in avocados, but that's green. So I recommend this book, and you guys usually have it here in the studio. If you're getting in the sauna, pick it up, you know, open it up, read a section of it. But
where you get it at, Jan? Where you get it?
I got this at Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
Oh yeah, 80-10-10. Really a great book. So I wanted to talk a little bit about fat this morning. You know, our arteries and our veins in our body, they were made with these cells that cover the inside and kind of coat it like Teflon. You know, your Teflon pan. Hopefully you guys don't have any. If you do, throw it away. Okay, they're really bad for you. But the idea is to make the inside of the arteries and veins very slick so that nothing would stick to them. And so, but what has happened is that as time passes by, we eat foods that actually damage the inside of our vessels. So if you get, say, a big, you know, fat or something in your arteries, something that you've eaten that is not good for you, that is not good for your body, it actually like tears at the inside of the walls of the arteries. And when you have a tear, that's like that Teflon pan. When you use it and you use a metal, you know, you're not supposed to use anything metal on those Teflon pans, right? But when you use something metal and it scratches it, now what? Everything sticks to it. So your Teflon pan, soon what happens is you're scraping off all the Teflon, you're eating it, and you're left with just the steel or the aluminum on the bottom. So you have these artery vessels that are getting damaged inside. Now where the damage is now sticky, I guess you could say, sticky. So now the fat that's going by it and some blood products, platelets, old white blood cells, they can stick to that damage in the cell wall. And then it forms over that a plaque, like a scab. And those things don't go away unless you do serious diet change. It can be reversed. And they've done studies that saying eating a low-fat vegan diet can actually reverse artery wall damage. But it takes a long time. You're talking about a year or 2 years. It doesn't just happen in a couple months. So what happens is those arteries get damaged, and then that plaque builds up, and it gets, you're where the blood can go through. The blood flow gets narrower and narrow, and now your artery that's supposed to be stretchy and pliable is now stiff. It can't move, and so now you get high blood pressure, and then you're more susceptible to having a stroke and a heart attack. And so the fat, you've got to keep the fat down in the diet. That's very important. Even as a raw vegan, you have to keep the fat down. There was a man in the 1600s, his name was Thomas Sydenham, and he was a doctor, and he said a man is as old as his arteries are. And unfortunately, kids like your age are already starting to have plaque buildup in the arteries. You know, we're the first generation that they're saying that our kids are not going to live as long as us, because look at what they're eating at their age that we didn't eat when we were their age. When I was young, going to McDonald's was a treat once a month. You know, now going to McDonald's is almost every day. And we talked about this in my last class. You can go to McDonald's and, I mean, you can go to Stripes and get, 3 hot dogs for $1 or something like that. I mean, it's just, processed food is very inexpensive and it's very convenient. So more and more people are eating it, and our kids are eating it. And even in the schools, look at the garbage they're giving them in the schools. They're trying to change it. They're trying, but if the kids have a choice between getting an apple and grapes or French fries, you know, their palates are already French fry craving. So they're not going to choose apple or grapes over French fries. I wouldn't have, you know. So healthy cells in your body, this is one of the reasons why I carry this product. What I'm going to explain to you next is that when you have those artery walls, the endothelial cells in the artery walls create nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps keep your vessel walls pliable. It helps those walls to resist plaque from sticking to them. So it helps keep like that Teflon nice and shiny and damage free. It helps dilate the arteries. It helps lower the blood pressure, keeps the cholesterol off. When I take this before I go to bed in the nighttime, I have, you know, at times in my life have a lot of stress. If you're under a lot of stress, I recommend taking this. There's times, one year, the year that Goga actually, the franchise went bankrupt. Oh my goodness, I had chest pain every night. I had chest pain. And normally you feel chest pain in the nighttime, not usually during the day. It's usually in the night when you're asleep and you can feel it. You're more in tune to your body because it's quiet all around you. And I was having chest pain every night. And I'd get up and I'd take this and it would dilate my artery walls and it would help me to feel better. And so I just started taking it. One night I took it 3 times during the nighttime. My chest pain was just so bad from the stress. So it's unfortunately, the bad news is you can eat a raw food vegan diet, and if you have so much stress in your life, your cortisol is still going to damage your body, you know, and that's just the horrible fact of it. Stress trumps everything. So we need to learn to manage our stress, because everything that you can do can be for nothing if you don't take care of that stress in your body. That's how important it is to manage stress. And I'm not real good at that yet. Got to get better at it. But this product is very good for helping to keep your arteries cleansed. The reason is because it's got L-arginine in it. And L-arginine helps your body to produce nitric oxide. And it has a lot of other heart supporting vitamins and minerals. So several of my clients do take this, and I do take this as well. Okay, the other thing that I've been fascinated by lately is, you know, for years, even as an RN, you know, I don't know if I was taught this or assumed this, because it's kind of everywhere, that if you eat a lot of sugar, if you eat a lot of sugar, even if it's fruit sugar, you're going to get diabetes. And actually, diabetes is not caused by a high sugar diet. Diabetes is actually caused by a high fat diet. And have you guys ever heard that before?
No.
This is new research that's been coming out lately. And what it is, have you guys ever heard of somebody that's been insulin resistant?
Yes.
Okay. Insulin resistance is caused by a high fat diet. So what happens? Yes, you still shouldn't eat lots of simple sugars, you know, simple carbs. That's going to raise your blood sugar, right? But you should be able, your body should be able to produce enough insulin to use that blood sugar and get it out of you if not needed. But what happens if you're eating a high fat diet? If you have a lot of fat, what it does is it coats the cells. Okay, it gets stuck in there. So what insulin is supposed to do? You have a cell, and insulin is supposed to be the key to unlock that cell to let the sugar in. Because cells need sugar, they need energy, they need the carbs. A cell, we have to have carbohydrates in us. So these low carbohydrate diets are not really good for us. because now, before I say that, I want you to know low carbohydrate, meaning yes, get rid of the chocolate bars and the sodas, but don't get rid of your fruits. You know, you want to keep eating a lot of fruit. Because our body needs that. Our brain uses so much energy. We have to have so much energy for our brain to work. If I don't have enough sugar, I feel my sugar going down, guess what's the first thing to go? My brain. I can't think right because my brain needs carbohydrates. It needs sugar to function. I get grouchy. I get moody. So we have to get those carbs in us, but they have to be good quality carbs. So what happens is you have this cell, it has a door, it has a key, a key that is the insulin. Insulin needs to go in that lock and open it up so that the sugar in the sugar can go in and, give that cell energy. But the insulin can't work. It doesn't work. It can't unlock that door because, the lock's full of fat. It's clogged with fat. So what's happening in a nutshell is we have these cells coated with this fat, and the insulin cannot make the cell absorb the sugar. So then the blood sugar rises because the sugar is meant to be used. So your blood sugar goes up. And so after years of doing this, you get pancreatic exhaustion. Your pancreas is constantly producing insulin and more insulin and more insulin to try and get a bigger key to open the door, a bigger key to let in that sugar. And so what happens is your pancreas gets burned out. And then one day it says, I'm not going to try anymore. And so next thing you know, you're on insulin. And they've actually reversed type 2 diabetes with a raw vegan diet. It's all over the internet. It can be reversed. It's just how to get lowering the fat and then getting those cells cleansed of that fat that's stored in there that's blocking the insulin from going in. So that is really good news for people who have diabetes or who are pre-diabetic. We can tell them if you just lower your fat intake, you will bring down your blood sugar. It's actually been shown that people who eat beef, after you eat beef, it actually raises your blood sugar more than if you ate potatoes or rice. So, this is just something I'm going to put out there for you guys to think about because it's really a new way of, I actually don't know how new it is. It's probably been around for a while, but it's just something that they're not telling us on TV because, of course, the meat industry doesn't want us to know that this saturated fat is clogging up our cells and causing us to get diabetes. But it's very important you guys are aware of that. It would be really interesting to do a study on people, on a diabetic, giving them a hamburger and then giving them some potatoes and seeing which raises their blood sugar more. It would be really interesting. The studies have been done. There are studies all over the internet of it. So that's just something for you guys to be aware of, to think about as you're reading and hearing things on TV.